lovely to see you today.
And it's good to see you too, James.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm really good, actually.
Do you remember the dances in the old days, James?
I do, and I remember the donkey in the cart. I remember my dad being home.
Yes, but come on, don't tell me now, James, you went to a dance in a donkey and a cart. Because I'm
Well,
not buying that.
I went to a lot of dances in donkeys and carts. But
I'm not buying that
home.
for 1 second. How are you? Good.
I'm really good.
Okay,
sir.
now the first thing we have to do, first of all, friends, is we're going to deal with something of a sensitive medical nature. So maybe for our young ears, you might be able to just turn away for about 2 or 3 minutes until we deal with this. This is pertaining to a letter you received.
Yes, Ger, I just did a little brief overview of it here, but I'm just going to read it out. Dear Jerry and James, I'm a 47-year-old man, happily married, 2 kids and a good job. I don't think I'm under stress or bad health, as I go to the doctor every year. My bloods are good, but I sometimes have low iron. Recently, in the bedroom department, I have begun to notice that I am struggling to maintain an erection. Everything is fine at the beginning and during foreplay, but midway through lovemaking, my erection seems to collapse. My mind starts racing and I end up very frustrated. My wife says she understands, but I feel she's been very kind saying that and would understand her concern. I haven't tried any of the ED tablets, but would love your opinion. Thanks in advance.
Okay, and I presume probably a common enough situation, James.
I would
not
say
an isolated case.
Not an isolated case, Jerry. And what I would say to that gentleman is that is very, very common. And there isn't a day that goes by in the pharmacy that I am not chatting to a gentleman about something in similar. The fact that he's picked up his pen and sent in a little letter, I think that's the first step to actually recognising, look, this is, even me saying this and we having a chat here, Jerry, this is a common issue. It's part of life. And for men, sometimes it gets into their head and they really, really struggle with it, And I would say that even just having the confidence to pick up a pen, write a letter, and just have that conversation on radio, I think he should be safe to know that this is common, it happens, and it's about breaking the cycle, and just even having a chat with somebody can actually help in that department. What I would suggest there, he did mention the irons are a little low. I'll pop into the Pharmacist, maybe have a discussion there about getting a good multivitamin, Energy Plus, Vivioptil, maybe a little bit of Revive for a month. Don't overdo it. And the ED tablets, pop into the Pharmacist.
What are ED? Erectile dysfunction.
Erectile dysfunction
okay.
tablets. Yeah, I'll pop in. The Pharmacist can give them out. There's a little form you fill in. It's very discreet, and they're very, very effective. It's how you use them. Be considerate in relation to actually when you use them.
What does that mean?
Well, as in you don't want to be using, like, say if you're you're starting to make love, they're not going to work.
I get you.
At that particular point.
Timing.
You need timing. Timing is key. So what you need to be thinking about is maybe half an hour to a quarter of an hour beforehand that you would take one, and then see how it works from there.
And James, these particular tablets, are you saying they're over the counter?
Yes.
But what's the purpose of the form, James?
It's just purely for the pharmacist to do a quick review. So okay. The patient doesn't have blood pressure or anything like
or
that.
Other types of medication.
Yeah, but then you get a little card, so you don't have to fill it out every time.
I get you.
And it's very discreet, and it's very, very well done. And all community pharmacists are very well versed in how to handle the discreetness of the discussion.
Perfect. Well, hopefully that answers that now for that 40-something gentleman.
Yep.
Off the agenda, we also have something else.
I was just going to say, I came across a little case recently where I was talking to a good friend of mine, a gentleman, and he mentioned he was having an issue with urinary frequency. If you ever had a pint or whatever, and I just mentioned to him maybe he should pop to the GP. Now, he hasn't been to the GP in 6 years. And we had a little discussion about that, and I suggested...
Did you tell him he was bold?
A little bit naughty, but I suggested the first thing he has to do before he comes back to me or has any more chats with me, he has to talk to the GP, get his test done, late 40s, early 50s. It is very, very important. Now, a lot of men have a fear. I often hear, a lot of men will come in and say, James, I don't want to go to the doctor because I'm afraid of what they might tell me.
Welcome to the club, James, yeah. I'm afraid. Welcome to the
club.
club.
And we'll just
here.
bury the head in the sand, keep going, and
Yeah.
then wake up one day and there could be all sorts wrong.
I know.
So it's about getting that little bit of confidence, making the appointment, going in once or twice a year. And you know, the blood tests that are out there, I must actually bring in my own set of blood tests, Ger, and we'll go through them.
Okay.
And we can look at the different aspects of cholesterol, prostate specific antigen, the different liver enzymes and stuff like that. We'll just do a brief overview on what they actually give and show.
Which would be more painful for me to see, your blood tests or your tax returns?
Well, Jerry, one,
Are they both kind of the same?
One is worse than the other, and I'm not telling you which.
Okay. All right. Very good. So now we're on the agenda. James, is there any alternative to surgery to get rid of gallstones?
Just bear with me a second, Jerry. Hope the taxman isn't listening.
Have I hit a raw nerve?
You have.
Sorry.
Hang on a second, Jerry. I just have to take the tears out of my eyes.
To do this.
It's okay. It's okay. Now, fire away, Jerry.
Okay. Is there any alternative to surgery to get rid of gallstones?
Now, if there's been a recommendation to look after your gallstones, obviously surgery is the way to go. But what you could do in the meantime, sometimes they have these things called liver cleanses or gallbladder cleanses. You know, it's a mixture of lemon and olive. I wouldn't recommend going down that road. But what you could do is a little bit of milk thistle and turmeric. Yeah. Quite effective and safe, and you know, even talking to a herbalist there, they may be able to help you. But a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of milk thistle is quite effective, especially in decreasing the type of pain that you might be experiencing.
Okay. So would you do that after you've had a chat with the GP or before you?
You could actually go on it now.
Okay.
There's no reason why, because if they're scheduled in for surgery, they're going to be getting them removed anyway. It's just to remove that type of discomfort that they might actually be experiencing. Just on that, Ger, if they're removing the gallstones, that's cool. If they're removing the gallbladder, remember there's a specific diet that a person has to go on.
Fat-free.
Yeah, and it's very important. I see so many people, and they don't get to talk to a dietitian, and they miss that information around the diet that you have to use if you have a gallbladder removed.
Okay. James, what to take after the flu to build up energy?
Well, Jerry, what I would suggest there is getting your electrolytes right. You know, the likes of Diorolite, Airlite, any of those, and just use them for about a week, one tablet a day. And then a good multivitamin, Energy Plus, Vivioptil, Revive, very effective, very safe, and do that for a month. You know, sometimes people come out and they'll talk about, you know, I went on them for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. No good.
No good.
Got to do it for a month after a flu, and you'll find a good lift then. And if you were on antibiotics, again, we've often spoken about that, Ger, very important. Probiotics are absolutely key because they are the transport mechanisms that move the nutrients across into the gut.
And which probiotic would you recommend after the flu? Any of them?
Acidophilus, the Super 8s from, the names have slipped mind, but Super 8s would be very common in Udo's Choice. Super 8s would be very, very common to be the one that I take.
Okay. Please ask James Geraghty, what is the strongest ashwagandha? Is that right, James?
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha I can take. Is it powder or tablet form? I suffer from anxiety and I heard it's good. Thanks as always. What is it, James?
Ashwagandha is like a herb.
Okay.
Jerry, it's quite common to rhodioli. We've often spoken about rhodioli.
Yeah.
So it's very common but effective. And effectively what it does is, say for example you have a really tough day and you want to calm down, use it then in the evening. Or if you want to start your day off and you're a bit stressed and running around the place, you use it in the morning. So it's down to your circumstances actually when you use it. The usual one in Ireland would be a brand. The brand of ashwagandha is called K66. Now I know we have some, but I know it can run short at times. But it is available, ashwagandha. But the make that's very effective is called K66.
Is that for tablet form?
It's in a capsule form, and it's very effective. And again, the good thing about it is you can come off it and on it when required. So you don't have to, for example, it's non-addictive per se.
And you consult with the pharmacist.
Yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
necessarily
Consult with the pharmacist, the health food store or whatever, and they'll have a good chat with you. If you pop in there into the wonderful crew that are in Honeybee in Claremorris, very, very clued in around that.
James, I'm on, is it Xarelto blood pressure tablets, getting pins and needles on my fingers when I go to bed. I'm 80 years of age.
Well, that's a little bit of pins and needles. Now, if we look there, Ger, the Xarelto is a blood thinner. So they're on a blood thinner, which is their Xarelto. They're also on blood pressure tablets. Do you see there, Ger? So What we need to do,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, so the pins and needles on my fingers where I go to bed as an 18-year-old. So what I'd be recommending there, Jerry, 80 as a vitamin B complex and magnesium. Nice and simple. It won't affect the Zerletta, which is a blood thinner. And as we've spoken about before, Jerry, around blood thinners, you need to be talking to your pharmacist if you're deciding to take any herbal supplements or energy supplements or anything like that. If you are taking a blood thinner, they're usually used, say, for example, after hip surgery, DVTs, deep vein thrombosis, anything like that. So in that circumstances, it's really, really important to make sure that the pharmacist is aware that they're taking Zerletta. But I can say there that the B complex and the magnesium won't have an impact on that. And what I would recommend there is the magnesium citrate, not the magnesium bisglycinate or the magnesium threonate, the magnesium citrate, because it's specifically for the periphery and the muscle.
So that's important.
Exactly.
Magnesium citrate.
Exactly.
Take a note of that, caller, and think of that one. Midwest, I have, isn't it cirrhotic arthritis you call that, James?
Cirrhotic arthritis.
Cirrhotic arthritis. Is there any natural remedies I can take for it?
Well, cirrhotic arthritis, it's a chronic condition, Jerry, where you get inflammation, especially in the joints, and it can be really, really painful. And the key is, number one, I would suggest diet to keep it as a low inflammatory diet as possible, and that's lots of greens, and lots of, I would say, the likes of turkey, fish, chicken, things like that. Avoid the red meats if possible, because there's purines in them and they can get deposited in the joints and they can irritate or potentiate a flare up. In relation to natural, I would go with, say, for example, omega-3 and turmeric. Very safe, very effective, and shown to have an anti-inflammatory capability. The other thing what you might consider is something to not to dampen the inflammatory response. Now, when you're going into that route, your GP and your consultant are involved, and you'll be looking at, say, for example, the likes of non-steroidal anti-inflammatories to reduce down inflammation, going right up to the biologics, which are the high-tech medications which dampen the inflammatory response and therefore reduce down the capability of the body to cause this inflammation in the body, this self-imposed inflammation.
Wow. Are they really expensive, those high-tech medications?
They are, Jared, but it's all managed, you know, with the DPS and stuff like that. But they're
very effective.
Very, very effective.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's the new generation.
Yeah,
of medicine,
the next generation of medicine. Lady had a brain scan recently, James, and it showed that she has a cyst on her brain. Now, she gets very bad migraines. She wonders, would the cyst be causing the migraines, and should she be worried?
Well, there's a possibility that it could. Most obviously, that she had a scan. There is a cyst. A lot of those are benign, but it's about the GP and the consultant keeping an eye on that. Ultimately, they're aware of it now. It may have potentiate, you know, if it's pressing on a particular part of the brain. But ultimately, that is a case there where the GP and the consultant will be keeping, or neurologist will be keeping an eye on it.
Could you say anything about the migraines in the meantime, James?
Well, honestly, Jar, with migraines, the key here is what are the triggers. You know, we've often spoken here about chocolate, cheese, wine, getting dehydrated or very, very tired. Really specific areas where you either individually or collectively they can trigger a migraine. So it's about avoiding that particular situation.
Okay.
I know sometimes, even in my own case, Jerry, if I say I have a particular type of chocolate and a wine, which I rarely drink, but if I come across that combination, you won't see me for a week.
Deadly.
Yeah.
Question from Mr. Geraghty. Can you recommend cream for a small crusty brown bump on the side of the forehead? I think it's called, is it astenetic keratosis, James?
Correct. Sure.
The crusty head has come off from wearing caps, etc., and I'm hitting off it, says Tony.
Okay. Now, sometimes, Gerald, that's actually caused by usually sun. In fact, you know at the side of the head, Gerald?
I do, I've seen them.
You've seen them, yeah. So it's very, very important. Number one, you could use a little, if you pop into the pharmacy there and you could get a little bit of cream, if you just talk to the pharmacist and just massage it into that affected area, La Roche-Posay, maybe with something with a little bit of urea in it, but we have to make sure it's not around the eye area. Okay. So you have to be careful there. But the most important thing that gentleman needs to be doing is making sure he's using a sun cream.
Okay.
Yeah. On an ongoing basis, because you don't want that triggering that jar. I had one there. I don't know if you can see the mark. I got it removed there a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the one thing the consultant says, leaving, he says, don't come back to me again if you're not using sunscreen.
And even this time of the year,
Absolutely,
yeah,
Ger.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's important.
Very,
isn't
very
it?
important.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do one more before the break. I would be grateful if you could ask James if he ever heard of, God, they're coming today, is it Synachrome blood sugar tablets?
Yes, Ger.
If not, could you recommend anything to take down sugar in the blood? What are Synachrome blood sugar?
It's a combination of herbs and nutrients that help stabilize blood sugars in the body. The availability in Ireland, I don't think they're available in Ireland and in retail stores, but a recommendation like would be, say, for example, something like Chromium or Multifiber Plus. If you take 30 grams of fibre every day, say, for example, Multifiber Plus, you take 2 tablespoons, mix it into your porridge, and you take your Chromium every day. It's as effective as that.
As effective as that.
Absolutely.
All right. Job
Absolutely.
done. All right, so we'll take our break. We're back with more questions for James to answer after these. Next section of the programme. James, you want to flag something that we'll probably take care of in the month of March.
I think so, Ger, because there's a lot in it. I want to have a little chat in relation to GLP-1 and GIP medications, and that includes Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. There's a lot of talk about them out there.
Are these the fat-reducing medications?
These are the fat-reducing
Okay.
and fat-reducing obesity and insulin medicines that are proven extremely popular, and we're getting a lot of questions in the pharmacies in relation to them, how they're using, are they working? I've had, you know, over the last year and a half now, a lot of people that we have on these particular medications. I suppose from my perspective, I've seen the great results we've had, but I've also seen the side effects and people falling away from them and not using them correctly.
Oh, wow.
So in relation to that, we will have, I think we'll have devote maybe a little bit of time to it next month, Ger.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about like, don't get me wrong, Ger, I know I have a lovely lady at the moment, and I think since last November she's dropped about 10 kilograms.
Are they GP supervised though?
They're GP prescription supervised, but when they come into the pharmacy, obviously you have to go through the protocol in relation to how you use them, using the injection, all of that type of thing. And we would usually do a weigh-in service as well. And, you know, I've seen tremendous changes in people's personalities, Jerry, around them in a very positive way, but I've also seen the flip side of it if the protocols are not adhered to down the line, and where basically you can regain everything you've lost over a very quick period of time.
So they're not a lifelong medication. You take it for a period of time.
No, you need to be staying on these. You need to be committing to these, Jerry, over a period of time. Just like, for example, like blood pressure tablets, and that's where a lot of people tend to go wrong, because GLP-1, by its very nature, we actually produce it naturally, Jerry. If you have a meal, the body will produce this particular hormone, goes up to the brain and say, James, you've had enough. The problem is, say, for example, with James, it'll turn around and say, well, I haven't had enough. But the key here is with these particular medications, they're able to tell the body you've had enough, and that decreases your need for food. And that's just a little overview, Ger, but I think we should give it a crack. We're getting a lot of questions.
We're getting a lot of questions on it.
Yes,
it'll be
absolutely.
Dead. Lads, can you please ask James about the RSV virus that's going around? Is it contained to hospitals, or is it spreading outside in the community? Is that a viral?
Yeah,
the chest, is it?
The respiratory syncytial virus, Ger. It's in the respiratory zone, and basically goes in and gives you symptoms like flu symptoms. The problem is in young babies and elderly people who are immunocompromised, for example, it can be quite nasty. So it's important, you know, purely from the perspective of, you know, in Ireland you can get vaccinated for a specific subsections of the community. So you can actually get vaccinated against it. That would be people, say, who would be immunocompromised, elderly if they're predisposed to it, or say, for example, young babies. But ultimately, what you need to be looking at there, if you are feeling that you may be compromised by it, selenium is very, very good. What else did I mention there? Propolis, vitamin C. Take that, and that should really help if you're going through a difficult time.
Do you believe it's spreading in the community at the moment yourself?
There's a suggestion that it is, Ger. I don't want to cause them panic.
No.
You know yourself.
Just be safe.
Yes.
Question for James, 60-year-old lady going through menopause. Last year started suffering with shoulder pain that cleared up a bit. Used to come and go. Had physio, helped for a while. But now the two shoulders have started. Reading on it could be estrogen low levels. What are your thoughts and any natural remedies in good health besides?
It's a good question, Ger, and it's a tricky question. And I'll say the reason why I say that, the hormonal levels are low, and it's important that, you know, she has to discuss this with her GP, because there are there are medicines out there that'll bring the estrogens back up, whether in patch form, pessary form, so from that perspective, it's extremely good. What I would say here, though, is that the shoulder pain, I think she needs to go back to her physio on that, Jar. Okay. Going forward, I would definitely recommend some omega supplements. Some phytoestrogens is easily found in miso, soya, for example, and flaxseed is very, very good. So from that perspective, even adapting them or bringing them into her diet, that will help with her low estrogen to a certain degree. But it's really important that she consults there with her GP.
Thank you. Next question, James. Can you tell us, please, what causes thrush?
Well, the most it's an imbalance really, Jar, in relation to bacteria, either in the mouth or you'd often find it in, say, ladies as well. And if, say, for example, you get an antibiotic, it'll kill the good bacteria and bad bacteria. So when the good bacteria in the say the oral cavity gets decreased significantly after an antibiotic, this candida, which causes the thrush, grows. It's a fungal infection. So that's what caused the milky tongue and the irritation and the whiteness and whatever. And same to a certain degree with ladies in vulval thrush. But from that perspective, the treatments are very effective, and it just jumped into my mind there now. The pharmacist can actually prescribe for thrush.
One of the 8.
Yeah, absolutely, Jar. So if you're struggling with that, pop into your pharmacist or your GP and just have that discussion. They can prescribe for it, Jar.
Because it can be really painful thrush.
Absolutely, Jar. And the irritation, especially in ladies' vaginal thrush, can be really, really affect ladies. And sometimes at weekends it was very difficult to you knew what you could give, but you couldn't give it.
Yeah.
But now I think it's a great opportunity for pharmacists to really help ladies. In relation to taking probiotics is absolutely key after or during. Some probiotics are antibiotic resistant, so they're very, very effective to actually use during taking antibiotics, just to keep everything balanced. Taking fiber, very effective again, just to help your gut microbiome, and that's again important. Sometimes I often recommend, especially in babies, you can get these baby acidophilus capsules, just break them up and mix them into a baby drink, and usually that really helps with any issues with oral thrush. Yeah.
What causes dry ear, skin, and a weeping?
Sounds like an infection, Jar.
An infection.
Yeah. Now, if there's weeping there, they need to go to see the GP, Jar. And don't. The important thing here is don't be sticking anything into it or cleaning it out with a biro or anything like that. Sometimes I remember once a man came into me and he had a big pin stuck in his ear, and I had to refer him directly to. It had gone in so far that it had gone to. It really had damaged his tympani or eardrum. Yeah. So it's important not to be putting anything into the ear. So just if it's weeping, GP immediately.
Can you ask James, why does a rash come and go? It's like lumpy spots or the shape of a cloud. The doctor reckons it could be, is it rosacea, I would say there?
Well, if it's rosacea, it could be a heat rash. It could be, you could query anything around that. Rashes are very individualistic, Jar. Some person,
and the cause of them.
And the cause of them, it could be very subtle. You might get an irritation and you look at it and you can't see anything, but if you look at it in a particular bright light, you can actually see the track around the particular area. So it's very important. Now, does it mention where that is, Jar?
No.
Yeah. If the doctor is reckoning it's rosacea, there are treatments for rosacea. So I feel that the treatment there, they've probably got something from the doctor, but it's important to continue to use that under doctor or pharmacist's instruction.
Okay. Now, last month you did talk about this, in fact, the insoles in Sligo. Can you repeat what you said about the insoles in Sligo?
This time last year, Jerry, if you remember, I was really struggling with not plantar fasciitis, the other one, Achilles tendonitis, I think it was called. And I went to that gentleman in Sligo, and is it Extreme Orthotics in Sligo is the name of the guy. And they made me a custom-made pair of insoles, made the custom-made insoles. Now, there are other orthotists that'll actually make them. I know there's a couple in Ballina as well. But what I got made on the recommendation of a consultant was I got these insoles made, and they've transformed my life.
Wow, that's
I can't believe it. They're just fantastic. But there is a responsibility around doing particular types of exercise to strengthen
Yeah.
the Achilles tendon and also to the plantar fascia around that particular area
It's
as
a
well.
two-way street. You have to meet them
Absolutely,
50-50,
absolutely,
head on.
absolutely.
Good morning, James. I'm a 58-year-old man. I have pain going down my legs from time to time. Not a lot to go on there, really. Is
No, but if potentially, Ger, are we looking there at something like sciatica?
Wow. Okay.
If it is ongoing, he'll need to get it looked at, because sometimes it can be easily fixed, like massage, anti-inflammatories, painkillers, short-term painkillers. But you need to make sure, because you don't want to be ending up with a chronic issue where you end up with say a bulging disc or something like that. Ger.
Very plain, very painful. Now, James, can you please tell me how high do blood sugars have to go before one is diagnosed as a diabetic?
It depends, Ger. It depends on age. It depends female, male, and what you usually look at is what a fasting blood glucose. So at night time, say for example, you don't eat anything, and then in the morning time you can do a blood glucose test and you get a measurement on that. Now, and then you have also this thing called a glucose challenge, where you take a shot of glucose and it checks and see the insulin response to that. Now, the variation on those results will give you a defined result according to the GP of where you actually stand, whether you're pre-diabetic, whether you are diabetic, type 1, type 2, all of these areas. So diabetes by its very nature is very, very specific around those particular areas, and especially around the subgroups.
Okay, well, now that's where we leave the live section, James. You believe that time is up already, but you're staying. We move to Studio 2 and we start answering the questions we haven't answered here. That'll be up on our Facebook page, up on your Facebook page, up on your social media pages as well. But for people, James, live, as always, your website is malloyspharmacy.com.
Yes, correct.
And the telephone number is 096 60072.
Correct.
And of course, Malloy's pharmacies are all over the place. County Mayo, County Roscommon, County Galway. You're, as they say, almost nationwide at this stage of the game,
Almost,
James.
yeah.
And that's the name of the game. All right, thanks, James. Thank you, Petrina. Thank you, Lauren and Stephen and all the team on the social media side. Thanks to our friends at Harrington's who make it possible. Back tomorrow with God's help to do more on Thursday's Mid-Morning Show.